Right, so that's recording now then. Right, hello everyone. Lee Ashby here for BSMA Motocross Memories. I've got the main man himself with me today, 3 times World 500cc champion and Britain legend, Dave Thorpe. How are you, Dave?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. I've been enjoying the weather, although it's turned a little bit at the moment, but it's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's changed a bit now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Gone back to sort of normal. Right then, so basically I've got some questions from our group as well to put to you first. So I'll crack on with that. First of all is from a chap called Mark Thorpe Mead. You might know him. I think he's your #1 fan. He put, what did you think and remember of the Western Beach race the year you won it? He's put 88/89 from your #1 fan.
Well, Western, I mean, I always find Western particularly hard, whether I've been young and fit or old and wise. It's always a struggle. I think from memory, that year it went quite well for me. I think the bike was good, everything settled. I don't remember anything being untoward.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know if that was probably one of the last times they had the ride down through the town.
Oh, right, yeah, beforehand, yeah.
They used to park you up the top. To be honest, the ride down through the town was amazing.
Yeah.
I love that piece of it. But no, I've not got any vivid memories of the Western Beach race, to be fair, in that particular year.
Yeah.
The years I've done it, what have I had when I've done it properly or tried to? I've had a first, a second, a third, and a DNF, I think. When I got the third, it was after I'd finished racing. I was quite old, really. And I remember Dad coming into the pits, and I said to my dad, how long's left? And he said 30 minutes. So I rode around a bit more.
Yeah.
And then I come back in the pits again. And I said, Dad, I'm shattered. He said, Dave, there's 2 laps left. 2 laps and you're finished. So off I went again. I did my 2 laps, come round to where they had the checkered flag, or where it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no checkered flag at all. So I went back in the pits, proper spat my dummy out. I said, Dad, I am shattered. Took my gloves off, took my helmet off. But Dad, honestly, there's one more lap. This is it. It's one more lap. So I put my gloves back on, put my helmet back on, and did that lap. And thankfully, the checkered flag was out. But I was absolutely shattered.
It's all heavy going there, isn't it? Especially when it's wet and not very good.
I love it. I love it to ride it. I've done it a couple of years ago with some of the management from Honda. We've just ridden around slowly and sort of give them an experience, looked after them.
Yeah.
So I've done it, on a real casual basis, and I've been to watch many times, and there's not many events like it.
Okay, cool. Next one is from Scott Sims. He's put, can you ask DT what he thinks of the current World Motocross Championship and the tracks, and how many rounds in qualifying, etc.?
I think the first thing you got to remember with me is I kind of look forward, I don't look back.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy watching the modern day Grand Prix. I, like everybody else, probably watch it more on the TV than actually going.
Yeah.
And I do understand the economics of it, of going to the faraway places. A lot of people probably won't realise, but Honda and the other manufacturers sell an awful lot of bikes in faraway places. So It is about a brand name getting out there. For the teams, it's tough. I appreciate that. For the factory teams, obviously their budget for it. But for the guys that are striving to be on a factory team, that are in the next tier team, it is tough.
Yeah.
But the tracks, I understand why they do what they do, and I think I wouldn't be wrong in saying for the majority of us it would be very nice for them to throw in a few more old school tracks.
Yeah.
I get why they go to the man-made tracks, and they do their best not to make them the same every event. But that in itself is not an easy task. But to have the modern day guys that maybe Farley, Namur, maybe Wohlen in Switzerland, some of the real natural tracks would actually be a buzz.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay, cool. Next one I've got from Ben Rumbold. One thing I'd like to know is his opinion on why we haven't kept the ball rolling in British World Champions after Noisy, Nelly, obviously yourself, and Nerly Kurt. We've only had one champion in Jamie Dobb, which is pretty much 20 years ago now. Why does he think that is? And what can we change as a country or with organisations in this country to get the next DT, so to speak?
I don't know. That's a really difficult question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tough one. I think is our next world champion born? I don't know. A year ago I'd have said maybe not. But at the first British Championship this year, where we had the kids come in on the Saturday, I went and watched the kids, and very difficult conditions, but not putting any names on people to create any pressure. But I was really surprised at the level of some of our kids, from auto 65 to 85. Can they bridge that gap and get into the world scene? That's a difficult one. You look at Conrad, an amazing talent.
Yeah.
In one of the top teams. And he's got a good chance. Ben Watson, again, he's got his last year this year, if we have a season. In a fantastic team too. They've got everything they need around them.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one. It is really difficult. People forget I got quite lucky because Graham and Neil were factory riders when I went into the British Championship. When I started to compete with them, I got noticed because the Japanese used to come for Graham and the Japanese used to come for Neil. And all of a sudden you're in the shop window of the people that actually make the decisions on big budgets. And to a certain extent, I was in the right place at the right time. Okay, I had a reasonable amount of form, but I was in a shop window. And for our kids now to get in that shop window is very expensive, because if they're not part of a team, then they've got to pay to get there. And the easiest shop window to be in is a European Championship, which is an extremely competitive class on its own. So I don't know what the answer is. I mean, we've got throughout the UK, we've got some really good ex-riders that coach, and I always look from a distance, and I think they do a really good job. But it's people forget it's not so much. There's a lot of talent involved, but also you've got to want to do it. And when I say want to do it, what I mean is you don't want to just do it so you don't have to go to work. You want to do it because you really, really want to be the best. And that mentality has not been around for a while. You look at Tommy.
Come close.
Tommy had several second places in the World Championship.
Come close.
And then he made a business decision, really. Shall I stay in Europe or shall I go to America? And he went to America, did really well, started picking up a few injuries. Then he come back to Europe. He's ridden very well, but he's never been really where he wants to be. But when you get to know Tommy, he's quite an easygoing guy, but his inner determination is there. You see it, you feel it when you're with him. And in terms of World Championship, I don't actually see that in many of our kids. That 12 to 16 age is quite a critical one in the development of a British World Championship contender.
Do you think it's like more of a consistency thing? So I was thinking, like, when I saw Max Amsty, I thought another amazing talent again, and he would go out, he wins odd GP races, but he reminded me a bit of Rob Herring, like stunning speed at times, but maybe just that inconsistency.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he got unlucky, really, Max, because he always seemed to get hurt at a critical time of the season when contracts and deals unfold.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I've seen him ride, and you would think, yeah, is that little bit of confidence, that little bit of tailwind that all professional racers need to give them that confidence to go to the next level. It's there. Yeah. And then, you know, he'd have an unfortunate accident, drop himself down, and then have to build himself back up.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's difficult. I don't, you know, you speak about Rob Herring. There's not many people since Rob Herring that have come over with that raw speed. I remember first seeing Rob ride, and I just thought, you know what, that is just natural speed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he was. I'd love to watch Rob race as well when I was growing up. He was special as well, wasn't
he? He was very special.
Yeah. Right. Next one I've got here from Andrew Spender. It would be great to know why he thought he became world champion. As in, did he feel that he was more talented, harder working, fitter, more determined, a bigger nutcase, or what qualities made him a world championship motocrosser?
I think it's a bit of everything. I think anybody that knows me, if I really want to do something, I'll do it. I'm quite a focused individual. I'm also quite determined when I need to be.
Yeah.
I was definitely on the best bike in that period. You know, HRC threw a lot of money at the bikes, the riders, the whole setup. So I was very fortunate to be on a Honda then. And psychologically, I had some good people around me that really helped me focus on winning. And we always had a plan that we couldn't win all the time. We used to try and get 32 points a round. We knew that 32 points a round would win it.
Yeah.
And some days, and I did fall foul of it sometimes, as Dad would remind me, but generally speaking, if I could win, I'd win.
Yeah.
If I had to take second, third, fourth or fifth, I'd take it.
Yeah.
Because it was all about the numbers game to get to the end.
You mean like not override and go try and...
Yeah, sometimes I overrode and threw myself down the track, and my dad would say, Dave, what about the plan? And there's no argument then. So I think I had a good chunk of all the attributes. I mean, undoubtedly there was people out there that had more talent than me. You know, like when I first went to Honda, Andre Malherbe was an amazing talented rider. Yeah. His finesse. He was probably, in my own opinion, the only person that was a little bit better than me on adverse cambers. And as a kid growing up on the Cotswolds tracks with all the adverse cambers, I used to get to a track and think, oh, what a result. This is all about me. Yeah. But Andre also could ride natural adverse camber terrains very similar to me. He definitely had more natural talent than me. He was a real master at it.
Do you think it was your just determination then that beat him out in the end?
Yeah, I mean, we had some great races, and a lot of our races were nip and tuck. They could have gone either way. You know, if you were a betting man, you wouldn't have wanted to put it either way. But yeah, I mean, that's what makes motocross so interesting, isn't it? You know, when you get people going head to head, it's all part of the draw for all of us.
Okay, brilliant. Next one I got from James Bish. He's put a prediction from you. If and when there will be an electric World MXGP, and would you support it?
Well, I kind of know that in the pipeline, not sure when it will be, but I know that Honda have one.
Oh, right. Okay.
You've probably seen pictures of it on the internet.
I've seen a few, yeah.
Yeah, and I would like to think that if it comes to the UK and there was an electric class, or even if that bike could race in in one of the classes that we have. You know, I feel that there is a big part of the electric racing that is the future. And as a team, we'd certainly want to be involved with Honda with that.
There's a massive part of it is the noise thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, I love the noise of our bikes, but as we know, not everybody's cup of tea, is it? So
yeah. Sometimes you've got to move with the times, I suppose. Things are. Okay, cool. Next one I got from a Kevin Wheeler. I think we had to put him right on the Facebook on the year of this.
Yeah.
He's put, you were on fire in 1989 when you won your last world title. The following year, you signed a deal with Alec Wright at Kawasaki. What were the main differences in the two teams, and why do you think you did much better at HRC?
I think that the Kawasaki bike at that time, I think everybody needs to understand it was a development bike.
Yeah.
And at the stage I was in my career, I wanted a race. I didn't really want to develop a bike. And having come off of the HRC Honda since 83 right through to 89, it was an amazing package. And to get on something that actually didn't quite suit me initially was a struggle, really. You know, I mean, people forget I won Grand Prix and won races in 93 on the Kawasaki. So it wasn't a bad bike, but I'd come from having a bike that was really suited me, from power to chassis to everything, to a bike that was in a process of being developed. It had a good engine, it had a good chassis, but it didn't quite gel with me.
Yeah.
I think, in hindsight, you know, when I look back in my career, there's not many things that I would change, but that would probably be the one where I would have stayed where I was. And, you know, I see stuff on the internet. People talk about, you know, it was all about money, but actually it wasn't. The simple fact is that at the end of 89, Honda asked me to take a different mechanic other than my dad. And I didn't really want to do that. And there was a bit of to-in and throw-in. And I had an offer from Kawasaki that allowed me to keep dad. And yeah, that was the reason why I moved from HRC to Kawasaki, because I wanted to continue working with dad. But, you know, in hindsight, there may have been another world championship there somewhere if I'd have stayed where I was. But at the time, I did it for what I thought was the right reasons.
Okay, cool. I've got Vaughan Williams here. People often talk about errors in racing and who were the best during a particular era. What I would like to know is, does Dave think he had the style, the mindset and the ability to win a world championship in any era? And if so, which era would he have liked to have competed in the most other than his own?
For me, I kind of liked the time that I was in it. When I first did Grand Prix, it was right at the end of Roger De Costa's career, and I managed to be in a few races with him. I followed the 70s motocross vividly as a child, because obviously they were my aspirations. Roger De Costa, Heikki Mikkola, Moiseev, the Russian guys in the 250s. I really enjoyed watching them. But I guess ultimately, when I watch it now, you know, I watch Tim Geiser, Jeffrey Erlin, Tony Carley. It would be nice to be able to be out there and race them in our prime, because they're undoubtedly really good at what they do. But if you look at every generation of rider, there's always been three or four people that have really excelled in a decade. You can go right back to the 60s with Jeff Smith. You can go in the 70s with Heikki Mikkola. You know, you can go through each one and pick out people in the 90s, Stefan Everts. You know, there's so many phenomenal riders that have been. And, you know, unfortunately, that aspect will only happen in our dreams, because we all get old and they stay young, and that's how it is.
That's it. I've got the next one's from Mark Smith. He's put, all the old school riders all love the 500 two-strokes. So my question is, Dave, would any of your Works HRC bikes, probably the best ever made, in his opinion, be competitive against a modern 450?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I think, for instance, Jake Nichols, Tommy Searle, if they rode one of those bikes in the British Championship, they would still be very competitive. I know Jake in particular loves riding the two-strokes. He finds it really exciting and fun. And I know that if he rode one of the factory bikes, they'd be very competitive. You'd be very surprised. I mean, it's 30 years old, but it was way above its before its time.
Yeah.
And I think they'd surprise a few people.
Love to see that. Right, the next one I got from James Stenner. Can you ask Dave about, can he give us more details on the 94 Motocross to Nations, what he thinks was so special about that team that day, the prep, the focus? It was such a special day. Would really like to have some inside story from it.
Well, we did spend a bit of time together before. And, Paul, Rob and Kurt really gelled well. If people remember back, I think we had a nucleus of about 7 riders that we all sort of worked together, and then there was 3 riders picked out. But I think apart from, the camaraderie of all 3 riders, the venue itself helped us. Roggenburg is super fast, really nice cambers, a little bit stony, but it really suited our guys. And Paul and Rob rode out of their skin. They rode amazing. I kind of feel that we all thought that Kurt was the solid one in the team, that he was always going to perform and be there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And to be honest, when we went, every team that goes says, "Oh, we got a chance," and it was always about finishing on the podium. It was all about trying to be on the podium. And I remember one of my friends, Chris Benford, was there with me, and during the last race, we watched the race together, and he said to me, "Dave, we can win this." And I said, "I don't even think it. Just let it roll." And, for those 3 riders, it was one of the biggest things in their career, and for me to be part of that, was phenomenal. And at the time, the ACU, they really got behind it. If you look at any of the old pictures, we all had nice team wear. We all kind of looked the part. And the party afterwards, I remember waking up in my room on the Monday morning, and I don't remember going to bed. And, I remember somebody, and to this day I don't know who it was, they got every pot plant and tree and put it in my room. And when I woke up, I thought I was in the jungle. I woke up and just thought, oh my God, what is going on in here? There was so many plants, trees, all sorts of stuff in my room. But it was a great night. Not that I remembered a lot of it on the Monday.
I heard the team manager wasn't too bad either. I'm sure you had a massive part in that as well. Right, so I'm just going to stop that for a minute and call that a part 1 for my recording, and then I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly ring my wife because she's been trying to call.
Yeah, that's cool, no problem.